we have Gregory Sharp. Greg, you introduce yourself?
I'll piggyback on Mike. I'm excited for the opportunity to work with the group for the betterment of our community and the lake. My history is we've had family property up here since the 60s. And about 4 years ago, my wife and I decided to move back and kind of make this our home. I currently work within the Mid-Michigan Health System. So I'm, like I said, excited for this opportunity and looking forward to years to come with this. So I appreciate it.
Okay, thanks. And both of you, welcome. So, moving on, we have committee reports. In committee, just before we get to the reports, I'm just going to tell everybody that committees do not have to be board members. Committees can be general membership. Anybody ever interested in helping us out? We can form new committees. We have a few already, but there's always things we can do. So anybody ever interested in helping us out in that respect, just contact one of the board members and we'll get you hooked up. But to start out with our membership committee reports, I'm going to start out with membership with, we have I'm not going to list everybody on there, but Sue Morgan chairs that committee, and so go ahead, Sue.
We have 107 members paid through 2021, 1 member paid through 2022, 26 members paid through 2023, 76 members paid through 2024, 23 members paid through 2025, and effective members, we have 233 members.
Okay, thank you. In that respect too, dues run on an annual or on a calendar year, so if you have a question of whether your dues are due, if you haven't paid them, they're due. So every year from January to December, the dues run. Some people pay ahead, as Sue pointed out, but if you haven't, it's $25 a member. And also entitles you to vote at the August annual meeting. So you need to have it paid before then. We're working on a program. I know if you. How's that coming, Sandy? Can you, the program is, can we figure out how to put that up yet or no?
Not yet. It's in the works.
I know it's hard for you to remember if you paid your dues or not, at least for me it is. Yeah. And we're trying to come up with a program that when you sign on to go pay your dues, it might tell you, oh, your dues are already paid or your dues are due. We're working on that as we move forward. Next committee I have is election. Jeannie Baylor heads that committee up. Jeannie, do you have any? I know she asked me for on that.
Yeah, we've got a couple of things we need to work out before the election. So I'll be calling a meeting of the committee before our next meeting. But I'm going to throw this question out for everybody, and you can think about it. And if you have suggestions, please bring it to my attention. Last year, our election was done entirely by Zoom. And because of COVID, we couldn't do anything in person last year. This year, it looks like it's going to be a mixed bag, and I'm not quite sure how we would run an election where people had the choice whether to participate by Zoom or not. It wasn't by Zoom; it was by what's the name of that?
Opa vote.
Opa vote. So I don't know quite how we run an election if we did half by Opa vote and half in person. So I'd like to think about whether, I know there's a possibility we could have in-person meeting for the annual meeting, which would be ideal, but there would still be people who want to vote electronically. So I need to kind of figure out how we're going to work that. So if you have any great thoughts on it, let me know. The committee will have a meeting this month before our next meeting.
Okay. I do think August, our plan is to have a monthly meeting. That's the plan, unless COVID changes its mind. But it looks like by July, maybe the way things are moving right now, the state may open up. And I have asked to use the Eagles Pavilion, and they've approved it, so it's on their schedule. I just we got to decide whether or not we can do that. So one of the problems that we have at the Eagles, we checked the internet signal out in the pavilion, and there was no signal. So we're trying to figure out how to solve that. So we have some issues, but yeah, we will be hopefully doing live meetings, at least in July, starting in July. That's my, kind of my hope. And we'll see how that works out. So that will be announced later on. We'll make sure the membership's aware how we're meeting and where and so on. The next committee I have is promotions. Rita Lewis kind of heads that committee up. I don't know if anything's going there, doing anything there. Rita?
We actually have a meeting scheduled for Thursday, our first meeting of the year. I did want to say that our committee is made up of both board members and community members. I just want to list those people so that you're aware of who they are. Myself, Chuck Sikora, Sandy Sikora, Mary Jasinski, Jeanette Hauser, and Sharon Byler. And as I said, we're going to be meeting on Thursday to talk about promotional plans for the year. And if anybody out there has any great ideas for promotions that they'd like to share with our committee or share with the board, we'd be welcome to entertain any of those ideas because we want to have a successful year. So thank you.
Okay, thanks, Rita. Next is on the committee is fundraising. Chuck Sikora heads that committee up, and he wants to talk about the golf outing, I think. So go ahead, Chuck.
Yes, September 25th, we're gonna be having a golf outing. Pretty soon, you're gonna be seeing flyers that are very similar to this, at different businesses and that. We're going out to businesses to get sponsorship packages from different businesses, whether a flag and grass signs, cart signs, all this from different businesses. We've got a fairly large group that's working on this all together. And it's gonna be $75 per person or $300 a team. And it's going to be a shotgun start. So it's gonna be a scramble. They're gonna have light refreshments to begin with. Hot dogs and chips at the turn, and then a dinner afterwards. So if you're not a golfer and you want to come to the dinner, you're more than welcome to do so. We're going to have a 50-50, a silent auction, and raffle prizes. And on one of the holes, we're going to have a chance to win a 2021 Chevy Blazer. I think it's for a year, for a hole-in-one. And anybody that's interested in joining that, please contact us. We'll set you all up on everything. And also, I want to make a little note that on the fundraising committee, one of the candidates for the board, Cheryl O'Neill, stepped up and decided that since she wasn't elected on the board, that she still wanted to be very involved, and she joined the fundraising committee, and we really appreciate her doing that, and look forward to other members who want to step up and help us out with all these other different committees that we have. And that's all I've got right now. And we're looking at other ideas for fundraising to be coming up in the future as well.
Okay, thanks, Chuck. I'm moving the agenda slightly around because, just because. But anyway, we're, next thing I'm going to list on the agenda, that's it for the committee reports. I'm moving communications under the program. It's going to be a little, Chuck has a presentation there. So next on my agenda would be comments from guests today. And we actually, I have a guy sitting here with two hats. Mike Suits joined our board, but he also has been elected to the Gladwin County Commissioners. So he actually wears two hats. We're happy to have Mike with us. I've asked Mike if he wants to make any comments concerning the Gladwin County Commission. I know he's brand new there, so I let him have the chance to speak if he wishes.
Thank you, Bill. So as Bill said, just recently, I believe it was April 13th, I was appointed as a Gladwin County Commissioner, District 3, to fill a vacancy created due to resignation. So we're in a couple hats here, but I'm happy to be filling both roles with the Gladwin County Commissioner's position. Obviously, it's allowed me to get out and see the effect of the lakes on all of the communities in Gladwin County. So I'm hopeful to bring, you know, what's specific to Secord Lake Association to the greater good of the county and see how we can all work together to facilitate what I hope is the best situation for all of the lakes. So appreciate the opportunity, Phil, and I'm thankful for the opportunity on the Gladwin County Commissioner's position as well. So thank you.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Now, the important thing with the committee reports, we moved it actually into business because it's a very important item. One of our committees has been doing an extreme amount of work. I sit on the committee as president only. I sit in some of the meetings, obviously not all of them, because they've been meeting like 4 times a week. It's been, or maybe more, but they've been working hard. Chuck's going to introduce a program they've been working on. I think it's a very positive thing. So we're going to move communications into our business portion, and I'm going to let Chuck take over on the introduction of their plan.
Well, before I introduce that totally, Communications Committee, we've been working a lot. We do a lot of the frequently asked questions, and we've got a lot of other information that we share with our members. But it was brought to our attention that it would be very good for our elected officials to receive emails from somebody. So in the last 3 weeks, like Phil says, we've been meeting 3, 4, 5 times a week on the phone, texting back and forth, getting this set up. And I'm going to introduce the program here now. So good morning, I'm Chuck Secord, and I love this picture. And I want to share with you this morning the strong desire to get this back. We want our lake back. Heck, we all want our lakes back. It's good for our property values, the local economy, our families, and as people. Despite what others are maybe saying to the contrary, we want our lake back. To be very clear, we want to restore Secord Lake. It's a complicated process, and most of this may be out of our hands for a variety of reasons. It's frustrating, sad, maddening, all at the same time. None of us are happy with the current situation. With that said, I do have some positive news. I want to share an update, what I believe is a wonderful idea where we can engage to try to positively impact the return of our lakes. The cool thing about this story is it was created by members of our association that stepped forward and have helped work in earnest to make this happen. Boy, I love this picture. Let's get started. And since our, is that this right one, Sandy?
Do you need the next slide? Next one.
Okay, since our last meeting, Four Lakes Task Force postponed a $200 operations assessment until next year. Four Lakes indicated to avoid project delays, there must be an operational assessment in 2022 if grants from other sources such as private, state, or federal of at least $8 to $10 million are not committed by the end of 2021. A total plan to restore the lakes is estimated at $300 million. That's all 4 lakes. People have asked, what can I do to help? To learn more about it, please look at our frequently asked questions dated on May 2nd through the Secord Lake Association. Next slide, please. So at our last meeting, someone asked about writing letters and doing things to help out. A handful of members stepped up forward and they created a grassroots effort to help. Number 1, secure government support and funding to restore the lakes. And this is a lot bigger than simply Secord Lake. At the state and federal level, our lake system is considered the Tittabawassee River system, not 4 lakes. The more funding dollars we secure, the lower the cost for property owners are going to be. You can get involved and help make a big difference. Next slide. What we created is a campaign simply called Restore the Lakes. You see the web address here, but don't go there until after the meeting. Let me tell you what this is all about. Next slide. Who is it? Grassroots, it's all of us. We are your neighbors, we are your local businesses, we are your friends who love our lakes, we are you. One team working together to voice our needs and make a difference in our communities. Next. What is it? Let our elected officials know we want the lakes back. We support the 4 Lakes plan to restore the lakes. Lack of federal oversight of Boyce and Hydro caused this. Property owners did not. While we are willing to help, property owners should not bear 100% of the cost to rebuild the dams. We seek support and help. We are seeking federal and state funds to help pay to restore the lakes. Next slide. We've learned a lot in a short period of time. I said this, we worked on this for about 3 weeks. And, there's a support to restore the lakes. To date, 4 Lakes Task Force has received over $52 million. Elected officials want to hear from the lake owners. They say that for every 1 letter an elected official gets, equates to 100 people that never wrote a letter. So if we can send them 1,000 letters, think they might listen to us? So they want to hear about us, whether you are a permanent member of the lake or not. They consider everybody that's got property on the lake as a resident. So in infrastructure, we have a shovel-ready project ready to go. We just need more money. And we can politely ask for help. Next slide. How can you help? When the website was designed to make this easy for you, everything is there to help you get started to write to your elected officials. After the meeting, please go check out the site. We'll also send an email to our members with this information as well. It doesn't make a difference if you live here full-time or not. If you got elected officials in your hometown where you live downstate, let them know what's going on. Keep all of them informed. Next page. Okay, our call to action. If everybody would contact 10 elected officials using the tools on the website, there is strength in numbers. I'd love to show you the website. The team did a great job, but you can check it out after this meeting. It has everything you need to get rolling. We need help. There's power in numbers. Can you please contact 10 elected officials using the tools provided on the website? We have found out from the elected officials that they would prefer to receive emails, but you can also send it via snail mail. Found out that in Washington, they scan all mail from the post office that comes to them, make sure there's no foreign substances or anything else that could cause harm to any of our elected officials. So it takes a lot longer for them to get mail from the post office. One of our members wrote 16 letters last week. Their spouse took the same letter from the computer, changed it to their name, and this couple sent 32 letters. They used the tools and it was very easy to do. Please check this out after the meeting. Like I said, our elected officials want to help, but they need to hear from us. So, as I said, if we had 100 members, each writing 10 letters, that's 1,000 letters out to our elected officials. And yes, we are working with all 4 lake associations to get all of them onto our site and to work together to get all of our lakes back together. But as we get confirmation from the other associations, we will be adding that onto the site and we'll be putting their logos on as well. Thanks for listening. Next page. We want our lakes back. We need your help to let our elected officials know we need their support to help restore the lakes. If there's any questions or comments, I'll try to address them if there's anything that anyone wants to ask. In a very short time, like I said, we got this website up, we've got sample letters on there, we've got all the elected officials' information. So there's a ton of information on this. And yeah, I want a lake back too. I didn't retire up here to have a stream in front of my house. I want water back, and that's why I'm on the board, and that's why I'm fighting for this as well.
Okay. Thanks, Chuck. So people wonder what, I know I go places and people ask me, what can we do? Wish we could do something. Well, this is something everybody can do. It's not going to cost you anything other than a postage stamp, or if you elect to go email, that's probably better anyway. But that's something everybody can do, and it'll be a huge impact. As we all know, our present administration is giving away a lot of money in different ways, whether it's COVID or whether it's infrastructure. So we want to get on board, you know, and they can certainly help us. And this is the time to do it.
One more little thing.
Chuck has one more little thing.
So the couple that sent out all the letters, we've heard back from the chief of staff from Molinar's office, Debbie Stabeno's office, and State of Michigan, Jason Wentworth's office, who happens to be Speaker of the House. They're very, very interested in talking with all of us. And so that's a very positive thing. So if they hear more from all of us, they'll know how much support that they really do have out here in the community. Thank you.
Good. Okay, that completes our, is there any other business that we need to bring up today from any board member? If not, if there's no new business, we're going to move right into our program. I always want to keep, I don't know how long Bob wants to talk about, cut him off after. I like to keep the meetings to an hour. I know this is a beautiful day. People are busy. You come up here to enjoy the day. We try to keep our meeting condensed as possible. But next week, we're very lucky to have with us Bob North. He's Gladwin County Emergency Management Director. And he's going to talk about some issues he's dealing with, which I was there when he was appointed director, and nothing, I don't think he figured as having this much work after a year ago event, and I'm sure he is very, very busy now. So Bob, I'm going to actually have you come, you want to sit up here? Take my seat. It's hot seat.
You don't mind, I might lay up, I'll pass out myself here, if we're gonna talk about this too. But you're not worried, there won't be a test. And we'll go through this as part of my quick presentation. Also, if you make sure I get your, when you get your emails, I can send these to you on the computer as well.
Okay.
And, but I want to make sure I have handouts today. Hey, give him a second copy. Oh, yeah, we were at the local,
Come on up, sit up.
We're going to set you on the camera.
Stuff.
We'll switch seats.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, good morning. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Bob North. I'm the Emergency Management Director for Gladwin County. I've had this job a little over 2 years. My third day on the job in March of 2019, they woke me up at 3:30 in the morning because the water was at the level of the Smallwood Dam. They had to sound the evacuation siren for Right Out Drive. And my first response was, where in the hell is Right Out Drive? I've been here 3 days. Anyway, we've had multiple high water incidents that resulted in some flooding over the last 2 years. Obviously not to the level of what we experienced a year ago this month. We live in Secord Township. We live in the south end on the river. So even though we're up high enough, I didn't have any flood issues other than the fact that it lifted a 22-foot wooden dock to the level I could only see the M3 boards. We didn't have any damage. Fortunately, my pontoon was still at the marina, although I did lose a fiberglass boat. It survived. It's still there because it was chained, but I can't trust it. It seems not the pounding that it took there. At any rate, when the flood happened, it was right at the end of a 2-month without days off situation that I had because of COVID. At work every day, 7 days, emails at home, crazy time then this happened. We had in the north end of the county, and more importantly, in Ogama and Roscommon, we had in the area of 8 to 10 inches of rainfall. Now, if you look on the first page of what I gave you, these first two maps are compliments of the National Weather Service Gaylord. We are the southernmost county in the National Weather Service Gaylord District. They've been very good, very helpful. Matter of fact, way before the flood, I invited them down and we did a tour of the watershed here, just so they could see what's on the ground. They're very good partners. They call me all the time. I talk to them all the time. You notice Gladwin County's in the middle, and these are our large rivers and watershed basin areas. If you go to now you see how much water there is there. If you go to page 2, now you get into a whole lot of other water. And just so you know, this is not necessarily inclusive of the designated county drains. You go to page 3, and I'm just giving you a brief so you can look at it later. This is an elevation map of our county. Obviously the top is north. You see the white area in the northwest part of the county. That's the general area of Oyster Lake, up off Meredith Grade Road. That is generally at about 1,100 feet above sea level, generally speaking. When you get down to where the dam breached, you see down at the red line, which is the county border, the red line within the page, that's all the way down to 630. To our west, Harrison is at 1,165 feet above sea level. And then you go down the rivershed and the waterways and you get down to 630. To the east, we're in the 800 or 900 range, and that drops down to the middle. You can see how everything in this county, from a land as well as a watershed perspective, is heading downhill. And there is no way that we'll ever be able to change it. If we continue to get 4 to 6 to 8 inch rainfalls, we are going to have flooding that we will never be able to do anything about. So, that being said, and we all being adults, we go to the next page. There are 35 dams in Gladwin County. Several of them are privately owned. If you notice at the bottom, we have high, low, and significant hazard. High hazard means if the dam falls down immediately, that we're probably going to lose people and a lot of property because it will be insufficient time to get out of the way. Significant hazard, of which we have one, is the Beaverton Dam. It's basically the same thing as a high hazard, except that there's nobody in the immediate vicinity of the dam that would probably not be able to get out of the way. You're going to have a little bit of time. Low hazard, okay, it's going to get wet. Then there could be some slight risk to property. Now, once you start in your mind looking at the large river basins, the small river basins, the elevations, and now the dams, you start getting a picture of our overall water situation here in the county. If I missed something, let me know, boss. I work for him, so. Then we go to the last page. Now this page here is the road washout map. It is not all inclusive because there were some that were missed we didn't know about till after the map was produced. As a result of the rainfall and the flooding, we had 72 roads cut off or otherwise compromised by water, of which 50 had to be repaired. We lost the Secord Dam Road Bridge temporarily due to vibration from the heavy pounding from the water striking it. So we had to close that temporarily until the engineers could get in and make sure it was okay to drive over. We did lose the Highwood and the SD Road Bridge for a significant amount of time, causing a 45-minute run for fire apparatus to go to the east side of the county because M61 was the only bridge available. Thank goodness we didn't lose that. The road commission, I cannot compliment them enough on the great work they did getting our stuff back. The last major project is up on Bench Road off of 30. That river is as wide as this building up there. It blew that bridge out of existence. That's how much water was coming down out of Ogama County. Took it right out. There's a wing wall missing. We still can't find it. It's down there somewhere. Or downstream somewhere. But remember, that Bench Road, that tributary up there, that comes directly into this lake. So, all that being said, and unfortunately, my job is to always look for what bad stuff can happen. I might want to join your committee because that way I'll have a little more upbeat stuff, you know? But at any rate, knowing what it is, what do? Well, a lot of the stuff we can do nothing about. We live in a watershed area, these things are going to happen. So then we got to go back to, okay, what do we need to do to prepare? My thing is this, if you are not prepared to be completely on your own, with no outside assistance for a minimum of 7 days, you are not prepared. You are not prepared. If we have that much of an issue going on, trust me, we're not going to be the only ones. Resources thin out. Volunteer assistance thins out. But we experienced that we had many, many people helping during this flood. Many people, wonderful organizations, as well as the individuals. But we experienced the inverted pyramid. We had the big wrong base early on. Tons of people, tons of help, all sorts of stuff going on. We get about 6, 7, 8 weeks in, and we're down to the point of the pyramid. And it's nobody's fault. People have their lives, they have their families, they have their work. It didn't make the needs go away. It got to the point where we had to shut down all of our relief centers we had down to the south end, primarily of the county, and move everything to Secord Heart in town because we had the infrastructure, we had the parking, and it would bring everything focused to one spot, reduce the need for a large number of volunteers. Okay? And plus, a lot of that was heavy lifting stuff. You start moving cases of water all day, you're getting to work on it. And a lot of our volunteers, they simply could not do it. Simply couldn't do it. I mean, there's a practical thing here. So, great volunteers helped out, but these things thin over time. So the question you want to ask yourself right now is, if we got surrounded by floods today, or we lost our power for a week, and there's nobody going to be able to come help us except maybe your neighbor, how are you going to make it? How are you going to eat? How are you going to supply yourself with water? What about your medicine supply? What about your pets? These are things we got to look at. And if you go to FEMA.gov or ready.gov, there are all sorts of preparatory information on there that you can avail yourself of and help get you on the road. Now, some of the things they have in there, they had a program that was about once a month you did something to prepare yourself for an emergency. And it was good. It was a good outline, and you could do things yourself. But that's the thing. Once a month, do something so that you're ready. What are you going to do about heat if it's wintertime? How are you going to be able to do that? So we want to think about these things. Okay, the next thing right now, and this is a very current issue that we're facing, outside burning. Part of my job as emergency management director is if they get a major fire or there's a need for Red Cross, regardless of time of day or night, I get called to assist. Well, having law enforcement and fire background over maybe a decade or so, I go on a lot of these calls, and I've got my gear. I help out. I go for whatever they need. I do. Need for Red Cross for a citizen, then I'll take that off the fire chief's hands. I'll do the interaction with the Red Cross and provide it, get them some assistance. We put on the county website yesterday. I don't know if you got a chance to see it, but we got on the county website yesterday. Outside burning. You go to the DNR website, it tells you whether or not you're allowed to burn outside. Now, in addition to that, even if you have a permit or you have a cooking fire, if it gets away from you, you could be very well responsible for all the associated costs of putting out that fire. A week ago Saturday, we had 3 fires. One was a tire shred with sparks and steel radials from the tires. For about a half a mile, we had spot fires on Bard Road south of 61. Somebody driving up the road and their tires going all over the place. Then we had one, well, it was a wind issue, took down a wire, set a fire. Then we had a guy who was doing a fire back off where you couldn't see it on Highway Road west of 30 through between 30 and Hockaday. And we burned 34 acres, had 3 departments fully committed, including the DNR and their airplane. Okay. It can get away from you quicker than you think, and you cannot outrun these things once they get going. And everybody, oh, the flame was only that high. Well, guess what happens if you trip and fall into it? You know, it's not going to be a good result. Not going to be a good result. We had one 2 years ago. It was the year before the flood, down on the river north of me, right about where Tea Creek and everything comes together. Tea Creek, the Sugar River, and Tittabawassee come together. The young lady's down there, and she decided while her husband's at work, she's going to collect the sticks and twigs and, you know, clean up the yard and burn them up. Unfortunately, there was about a 20-mile-an-hour prevailing wind, and the embers got out, set the hillside and the leaves on fire, started the neighbor's deck, which went way down the river on fire, and me and a neighbor were out there with 2 garden hoses beating it back till somebody got there with a real hose so it wouldn't catch a house on fire. That's how simple it is if something can go wrong with a wildfire. I cannot impress enough the need to be smart about it and don't do the wrong thing and never walk away from it. Somebody's got to be with that fire all the time, and you have to have extinguishing capability on site right there and all the time. We had one last year on Youngs Road, west of 30. Yeah, it was Youngs, west of 30. Weekend guy coming up, doing his burning, putting his ash pile, went home, ash pile was still going inside. That burned 6 acres. So you cannot be careful enough. And when you do these things, please be careful. On a very windy day, if you got propane, probably better option. So please be safe above all. Any questions so far? Okay. Okay. Lake bottoms. All the rage in the conversation. Lake bottoms. What do we do? I have people call me, oh, I got these big stumps, these trees in front of my house. I want to cut them down. I said, well, did you know they were there before? No. Leave them alone. That's fish structure. You can't take anything out of that river bottom without making our good partners and friends at Eagle and the DNR mostly happy. If you have things growing up, then you can weed whack it back a little bit, but the key is you cannot disturb the soil. You don't want to disturb the soil. That's the key. The stuff was there, you didn't know it was there, don't worry about it when the water comes back. You know, these are things, because we have to remember, these are not really lakes in the true sense. These are impoundments of water that occurred because they decided to build them to create electricity. So they're not lakes like Holton Lake or Higgins Lake. They're impoundments. Whatever's under the water that you didn't know was there, when the water comes back, just leave it alone. You know, it's fish structure, it's good for the wildlife, and you know, if you're not driving extremely, your crop's going to be fine. And I can speak to that because I drive the river all the time. I go all the way up to Secord Dam and back all the time. And one time I bumped something because it was my first time. I've never hit anything since then because I'm not going too fast. So we want to be cautious about that. The wells. We had the initial, after the flood, and then the drawdown, and then the subsequent drawdown. We had about 500 effective wells as a result of the flood. Now, about 200 of those, it was simply a matter of disinfecting and cleaning the screen, good to go. The other 300, not so much. When the water table dropped, that caused people to lose wells. And I get copies of everything on that because this was part of the FEMA assistance. And the thing is that you've got people that actually were basically drinking river water, 15, 20-foot wells. And I get the list and it says, you know, well, depth this far, no permit, da. Well, I call them Saturday morning wells because 60 years ago, somebody punched one in on Saturday morning, and that's been there ever since. Now, the upside of all this is that we do have properly permitted, inspected, and tested wells, so that's good. You're talking earlier about property values. This is good. You want to have a viable water source if you're going to be engaging in property transactions, that's for sure. So that's really good. Now, the health benefits are obvious. So there have been almost 230 new permits issued for wells out of that 300. So this is very positive, very positive. Now the FEMA, I get a lot of questions about FEMA. Let me explain what's going on with this. We could have a heck of a disaster and never see FEMA. There's a process to this. We have to declare a local emergency, okay? Then when a local emergency is declared and we're out of resources or capability or funding, then it has to go to the state. The state has to approve it that they're going to help us. And only when the state resources are depleted or the situation is such that they need to go federal, and the feds have to approve it. It has to be approved in Washington, the president's desk, through his people or however they do it there. If any one of those three steps stop, there is no FEMA assistance. FEMA is not automatic, and FEMA is only for property residents, not for secondary homes. And I tell you right now, there are some people being investigated in this situation, in our flooding, for attempting to defraud FEMA because they didn't really live there. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't want the federal government to have my name on a list like that. So anyway, remember, this is for residents only. If that's not your homestead and if you don't vote here, you're not getting FEMA help. Now but as a result of that, we found out there was a gap. Okay, what do we do for non-residents who have vacation homes here, like I used to before we moved here? Okay. How is that gap filled? And I've had some discussions with the Michigan Community Action, some other people, and it's not really my place. I just started a conversation. I says, what can be done to work with local financial institutions to help expedite that for people who have vacation homes or second homes here? You know, that might be a discussion for you guys to have. You know, how is that gap filled if we have that situation? You know, because it's important. They're taxpayers, not residents here, but they throw some money. So that's probably just a topic for conversation if nothing else. What do we do in the event of a disaster for secondary property owners? Are there low interest loans that can be worked out? Things like that. I think that's important. I think it's an important conversation, not my lane. It came up, I threw it to some people and okay, good luck. Now, as far as emergency notifications, our county pays $3,000 a year for people and property owners in our county to sign up for the NIXL program, N-I-X-L-E. That will give you all emergency warnings, National Weather Service warnings, and local warnings as well. I'm changing that around a little bit because before, when this was privately owned on the river, they had a warning system for certain people. I set one up for the Cedar River, and then we had the overall county. Well, I'm doing away with all three of those. We're going to have one warning system, one shot warning for the whole county, because it's not really hard to do, but I want to do this once, and then in the messaging we can be specific as to the area. Because we found in this situation that you have a flood over here, Rita, right? Mm-hmm. And then you want to go to the other side of the county to check on your relatives. You need to know that M61's a no-go. But everybody needs to know we're having flooding. We found during the response on this, it is so interconnected, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. All the water comes together and goes to one point. And then it goes to our friends in Midland County, who have the added attraction of the salt and Chippewa adding to the floodplain. So we've got a lot of water coming together, going down. We want to be prepared, but we want to go to NIXL. We want to, if you have a smartphone, or you can text 48624 to 888-777. 48624 to 888-777. Please share that with your association members. We want everybody to sign up. When I took this job in March of 19, we had about 2,400 people signed up. We just broke 4,000 2 weeks ago, and I want to keep those numbers going. So whether you live here, have property here, whatever, 48624 to 888-777. Or if you want more information, go to nixle.com, nixle.com, and it gives you additional ways to sign up for your computer. I'm working on what we can do about landlines, but we're having a real hard time because of different vendors. How many landlines do we really have where maybe senior citizens may need some notification? So we're trying to work on that, but that's more money. And if it's involving specifically the city of Milwaukee, who's going to pick up the extra bill? So we're working on those things. Any questions so far?
No, you've done a great job.
Okay, I got one more thing. Days. Okay, my job as emergency management director covers emergency management, also homeland security issues. We are in region 3 of Homeland Security in the state of Michigan. There are 13 counties and 12 other people like myself. In addition to Healthcare Coalition in Michigan. I work with them as well. The grants I get are specifically, they have to be tied to terrorism potential somehow. So I can't just go get grants for this and that. Other stuff, code infrastructure, things like that, not my way. Not my way. We did upgrade our police cars for the city of Beaverton, city of Gladwin, and now have repeaters in their cars like the sheriff's department does. Because frequently they're out in the county backing them up, so we have consistent communications there. We put a siren in Hay Township, which is probably the last one I'm gonna do. I get like 25 grand a year for grant money, and that's a $20,000 project, and it's only effective for a 1.5 mile circle around the siren. So we're better off to do other things. Other than that, does anybody have any questions? Thank you for your time and the opportunity. My phone number at the office is 989-426-6871. And anybody have any questions, you could contact me at any time, and I'll give you my card you can put on your plate. And if anybody wants to email me any questions or comments or concerns, be happy to help. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just remember our motto, there's no time to explain, run for cover.
Well, thank you, Bob North. That was very informational. Interesting stuff. As we move on, I'm gonna, like I said, keep this down, but the Four Lakes Task Force update, we don't have a lot. I mean, there's gonna be a second quarter meeting from June 1st. It'd be 5 to 7. Those are recorded. If you can't tune into it, you can watch the recording later. There was a meeting here this week talking about the, it was Thursday. They talked about the, what was it, the survey that went out. And majority of everybody wants our lakes back. And that was proven in the survey. Gets a little more questionable about who wants to pay for it. And I know there's some controversy there, but we're working on that. And that's why this letter writing campaign is so important. The more funding we can get from government agencies, the less we will have to pay. But I've been attending the state dam meetings. I can tell you that the feeling in the state of Michigan anyway is whoever is benefiting by a dammed lake, and there's a lot of them in Michigan, if the private owner is not maintaining it, they're gonna be gone, or the individuals on the lake are gonna have to pay. That's what I get from these meetings. The days are over of voice hydro non-compliance. Those days are done in the state of Michigan as we move forward. So basically, the Four Lakes Task Force is working hard. As Chuck said, the assessment was delayed, and the reason it is because we realize it has to be reworked. It's a complicated, the two counties, Midland and Gladwin, have to set up systems that they can handle this money. Right now, we're not set up properly. There was other issues, a lot of complicated issues, so we felt we needed more time before it was thrown out there. Plus, the assessment at $200 a year would bring a roughly 1.2 million in income, and we're looking for more now. Like Chuck mentioned, we're looking for $8 to $10 million. We felt we should look for government money this year to help us out. We're much more likely to get that kind of money from the government. So there will be probably an assessment. We're going to be working on it through this year and next year. It's going to be fine-tuned more. We want to try to make it affordable for everybody, and that's our goal. And there will be an assessment ongoing in the future. How much, I don't know, but we're trying to make it more affordable. So I guess I can sum it up. I wasn't going to give a comment. I usually give President's comments. I didn't build that in, but I just want to mention before I close. Folks, it's been 4 days short of a year since we had this devastation on our lake system. 2 dams breached, Secord and Smallwood severely damaged. I think there's been significant progress. within a year, the counties we've managed to have them own the dams. We've managed to have a lot of work done on Secord and Smallwood with the critical repairs and stabilization that was needed. But there's still a lot of work to be done. There's major construction. You know, Secord is the spillway and the gates and the berm itself. So as you notice, there's been drill trucks on top of the berm. They're actually looking at the embankment to see what has to be done or see how sturdy it is. There's been some damage done to it. It has to be redone to some extent, and that is not final yet. So all that stuff has to be done, but it's been worked on. I think we've made significant progress. There still has to be a lot more. It's very complicated, more slow than anyone that you just think fix the berm and let's go. Well, this has to go through a lot of agencies, as Bob pointed out with FEMA. It goes through tons of agencies before the permits are given. It has to be studied by engineers and approved. You just can't go in there and start doing things. So, and let me point out, and be clear, our association is not the 4 Lakes Task Force. Our association supports the efforts of the 4 Lakes Task Force. We have all the way through, we still do, because we felt, our board felt that was the only way we could bring back our lakes. And it's, everybody wants our lakes back and as soon as possible, but it has to be done right. So we don't need negativity on our lake. The negativity causes a lot of distress among our community. It makes us look bad. I can tell you just outright that last year's negativity in our lake cost the project 3 months and cost over $100,000 in legal fees extra, just because of the negativity. So we gotta, I hope our lake stays positive. Through this letter writing campaign, nobody can argue. We want our lakes back and we want help. So we need to stay positive. Your association represents you. We're trying to do the best we can to bring our water back. And that's about, you know,
Step up.
yeah, we need people now to step forward and help us out with letter writing. It's so important. Stay positive. We need to stay very positive to keep this project moving. If we get too much negativity, then things start getting delayed, and certainly nobody wants this delayed. I mean, our timetable is already pretty much in everybody's mind unacceptable, but we have to, it is what it is. I found out with all the complications involved, we have to do this right. This has to be done right. Bob North would probably agree with me. You can't put water back in with a dam that's iffy. It's gotta be right this time. You know, 100 years of non-compliance just taking us a lot longer. So we got to stick together as a lake community, your associations representing you. And I really don't have anything else other than the next program. We're gonna, I might have Bob North back, but before the 4th of July, I thought it'd be appropriate to address our fire hazards again as we start thinking about lighting off fireworks. So next month we'll be talking about that hopefully. And I don't know if there's any questions that came in, Sandy, during this meeting.
There were a few questions. I believe they're all answered on our FAQs. So I'm directing them that way.
Okay.
If they're still unanswered, we'll get an email.
Okay, and we'll keep our association members informed of where the meeting will be or how it's going to be. But so thank everybody for spending this hour with us this morning, and we need your support. Thank you. Oh, I need to ask for a motion to adjourn. Sorry.
I make a motion. I've heard the second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned.